I would like to welcome everyone to the 40th episode of Money Trees. I met today's guest at a small cafe in downtown Brooklyn. What was supposed to be a quick 30-minute meeting turned into a 2 hour long conversation about life, art, music, and all the madness that goes on in between. I was immediately captivated by their approach, their thoughts. I knew this was someone with a special mind. An immaculate writer and human, Alex Siber is here with us. How are you doing today, Siber?
Hey, hi everybody. I hope I'm coming through okay. I just want to say, Khufu, you just crushed that intro. That was beautiful. I think you and Greg Newman might have the best podcast hosting talents in the entire space. I appreciate it. That was very kind of you. Yeah, it was really funny. Khufu and I got dinner, and he was like, I've got something after this. I'm probably gonna have to go pretty soon. And every 30 minutes, he was like, I'm just gonna push it a little bit longer. And I'm super grateful for that. And I appreciate everybody for tuning in to a insane transition from Santangelo Williams to Bala Wala Shia classic Arabic song to um, Brockton's very own Van Buren Records. That was crazy to hear live.
Yo, I did not prep Cyber at all ahead of this. I had him like 5 minutes before he went on. And I'm like, yo, send me three songs so we can hear. And he sent me them. And yeah, that was fire. And I think it speaks to what we will get to a little bit later, but the breadth of your music knowledge and your taste was just on display there. So shout out to that. Yo, I don't really know where to start with you, man. I think that when I was prepping for this episode, we've been talking back and forth just about a myriad of things, whether it's my artist projects, some things that, y'all are building a catalog, or just the space in general. And I knew that I wanted you to come on Money Trees. I knew that it'd be an interesting conversation for other people to hear. But before I dive into those topics, I have a me question, or a question that I just want to know. Alex, when did you first fall in love with music?
Okay, so this is actually a beautifully timed question because I didn't hear 90% of that because my mom was calling, and it's 100% my mom who got me into music. I have these memories of walking around the house when I was a little kid, and she would just be singing nonstop. And I used to tell her when I was like, 7 years old, like, Mom, you gotta try out for American Idol or whatever. Um, and that was really the start of the love for me. Yeah, those are some of my earliest memories. And she always encouraged me to kind of go beyond what she was playing, which was mostly like Billy Joel or the Beatles or something. And I'd come home from school and be like, Mom, you've got to hear this crazy like grunge record, this like hip hop song in seventh grade, and we'd like play it in the car together on the way to school. And so yeah, a lot of my earliest music memories are her for sure. How about you?
I love that. And very, very similar experience. My earliest music memory, and it's so clear, I was in my mom's apartment. She was in the closet dancing, like getting ready to go somewhere. DMX, It's Dark and Hell is Hot is playing. I was a young child, but an impressionable one, and I have loved hip hop ever since. My first albums were Get Rich or Die Trying and the Marshall Mathers LP. So, maybe that's not speaking to the best parenting choices, but I love it. So
No,
hey,
they
not not.
trusted you. They
Yeah,
trusted
they
you.
definitely did, and the albums were amazing. I look back at them, and it's where a lot of my hustle came from. And I never got suspended from school for getting into fights or anything like that. Uh,
It just set the
yo,
tone early. That's awesome.
literally, literally. Um, I want to dive more in on some you topics, but I know a lot of people are excited to hear more about catalog. I knew that this would be one when it was announced that I would have some people DMing me with questions they wanted. Sorry, I'm not asking any questions that were DM'd to me. This is a different type of setting, but I would love to hear why you are investing your time in building with catalog and the team.
Yeah, I love that question. I appreciate that question. So I think to not spend too much time on it, context is kind of helpful here. I basically got into music because all my best friends in high school were engineers and producers and hip hop artists and singers and whatever. Um, and I used to make music with them. And at some point, I was like, y'all are actually talented. I should probably take a back seat and learn the business side. So you have this like prepubescent high schooler in me trying to figure out how music worked in like 2010, 2011. And I still remember sitting in like the studio with them trying to figure out how record deals worked. And we were all like so confused, so overwhelmed. Everything was so opaque back then. And I remember telling parents like, "Oh, I want to work in music one day," and the looks of horror on their faces, and it was so confusing to us. It was like this beautiful thing. Why does it have such a negative connotation? And that always stuck with me. So pretty much every professional decision I've made since then has been to try and rectify that in my own tiny way, whether it was like writing about up and coming artists at Pigeons and Plains, like they were superstars and giving them that respect, or working at STEM, which kind of just massively facilitated the financial end of royalty payments, or AWOL, which kind of gave the major labels, especially in the UK and Europe, a run for their money before Sony ended up buying them, which broke my heart a little bit. Um, but even when I was working on the kind of more progressive ends of the traditional music industry, I still felt a little discouraged and dismayed. There was only so much you could do because of the DSP ecosystem that kind of developed this chokehold around not only the value systems in music, but how we could even build discovery systems or listening surfaces for music. It was so limited. And over COVID, I started digging into, crypto and music. I had first heard about the overlaps back in college in like 2015, and it had piqued my interest ever since then. I wanted to build in the space, and a friend introduced me to Mike and Jeremy, who are the co-founders of Catalog, and he was basically like, you guys are kind of building something similar. You want to build something similar. You should get in touch. And this was like January, first week of February of last year, and within 10 minutes of meeting them, I was just floored because not only did they have so many beautiful ideas around how we could value music more fairly, but they themselves were music makers and they had been part of a producer community and they understood firsthand some of the struggles that I'd witnessed my friends experience that so many people in the traditional music industry have never really been through before. So I knew right away it was going to be an incredible adventure. I did not know nearly as much as I wish I did about, I guess, what would go on to be called Web3 at that time, but I knew we were going to at least attempt to build something different and try to prove that there was a different way to do things. And that was more than enough for me. And then fast forward a year, our team went from 3 or 4 people to 9, and every single day, I'm waking up and I'm talking to Mike and Jeremy and hearing their galaxy brain ideas. I'm talking to computer data, Brett, one of our engineers, or Reef, another engineer, or Hudson, or Ryan, another, like all these incredibly talented engineers who also make incredible music, and talking to Cece, who is just putting on some of the best events in music, period, let alone Web3 right now. And I'm just like, I believe in the people. Um, every single person on our team has the purest of intentions, and I want to believe that pure intentions are compatible with a functional business for everyone that's involved, basically.
Woo! I see why you love it. I love what y'all are building over there. I've told you that. I think that out of all of the am I gonna? Yeah, I am gonna do this. I'm gonna let my bias show here. I fuck with Catalog the most out of all of the music NFT platforms currently. I won't say that anyone. I've said this before. I don't think anyone's quite figured it out yet. But for some of the reasons you just highlighted, with the team, with the way that you all approach the space, it to me has the most long term potential, I'll say. And so that's always been really exciting when you get in with to a space early to start thinking about, like, okay, well, who's going to be around here? Who are the people that you should be learning from, having conversations with, trying to figure out, for me as an artist manager, how I can even contribute to that and how that can benefit the artist that I'm working with, and understanding what Catalog stands for and what you are trying to accomplish in the space. And it just makes sense to me, where I don't think that music is like NFTs in its current state wasn't isn't really suited for music distribution. And while the traditional distribution platforms definitely have issues, they're still the best for the consumers, not for the artist. There's nothing simpler or easier than for the majority of consumers to go on and just play something off Spotify or YouTube. The issues then come in with the gatekeeping and the lack of quality curation or, the payola that goes on with that space. And so, yeah, I could go on with that. When I think about catalog and I think about some of the really interesting, value props that you all bring to this space, the one that I go back and forth the most on is curation and the public perception of curation and the actual curating you have to do to make your platform work. And so one thing with money trees, it's all about planting seeds, it's all about planting ideas. And so, Cyber, when it comes to curation, what can you tell the public about Catalog's approach to that?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I just want to say I appreciate the flowers you're giving us, and it means a lot coming from you because, like, just in sitting with you the first time we met up, um, you were so good at kind of recognizing the problems the different platforms were trying to solve for and how they were going about it and what was working and what wasn't. I definitely think, to your point, everyone in this space is still trying to figure it out, and we have so much room for improvement. It constantly is inspiring us every day, but also weighing on us every day. So I appreciate that. To some people, we have had a positive impact already. That means a lot. On the curation front, I think the answer might might disappoint some people because it's almost to date incredibly simple. We just listen to music, and if we love it, if we feel like we're hearing something that we haven't heard before, it's something we have heard before but done exceptionally well, um, or there's a lot of potential in somebody's ideas, then we kind of want to bring them aboard. And it's been a mix of public submissions and outbound on our team side, and then artist referrals. And we've tried to keep a bit of a balance among those sources for artists, but also a balance between the number of artists on the platform and the number of collectors who are actively buying catalog records. I think the number is something like 75% of all artists on catalog have sold a record. We don't want that number to dip. So it's been a kind of tough position to be in where we see so many people who want to get on board, and our goal is ultimately to have catalog, or at least the technologies underlying catalog, to be available to everyone. We don't want to gatekeep that in any way. But we also don't want to replicate the problems that we started catalog to solve for, which is, you look at any given DSP, especially Spotify and Apple Music, and the same inequities that we see across societies, or at least, like Western capitalist societies, is exponentially even worse on these platforms, where a tiny percentage of artists are accruing the vast majority of attention and therefore kind of monetary gain. So we want to have a relatively level playing field and get the product into a better place where it's a lot easier to discover and communicate around and contextualize art, music, before we kind of open things up a bit more, if that makes sense. I'm happy to dig into it a bit more. But that's kind of where we're at for now. And the goal is to decentralize that process a lot, which is what we are working toward with a brilliant new member of our team who I will not share the name of at this time.
So I asked that because I feel like that's the biggest public complaint that I see. And I've talked about this concept too, the difference between curating and gatekeeping. At the end of the day, I love that you said it's like you listen to shit or you listen to music and you put up the joints that you like. And that is really all that matters. If people agree with your taste and they will support it, and find that I think that people do agree with the taste that the team has because they're sure rocking with the records that are on catalog. There was one thing you said to me that night at dinner that really stood out and helped me understand the vision that I just think I didn't get until I heard you say it. But you talked about decentralizing the process. But when we were at dinner, you were like, yo, you imagine a level of curation where the people that are in Brooklyn and know the hottest drill artist are the ones who are controlling the drill playlist. The kids who are on the streets in Johannesburg and are going to the parties where all the best Amapiano is being played, they will be the ones controlling the Amapiano playlist. And that type of vision when it comes to curation, like that resonated with me both as a creative and as an artist manager because I think that those are the people that I want representing these playlists and getting this space. Because at the end of the day, it's like you still need somebody to help you sift through and get to what you actually like. There's just too much content out there. And for the, let me not say everyone doesn't need that. A lot of people are doing perfectly fine curating on their own. I don't want to make a sweeping generalization to people who make all their own playlists, but the majority of people would like to have someone whose taste they know that they can trust and then listen to whatever they're listening to. Like I love doing playlist exchange with some of my homies, and those playlists are religiously the ones that I listen to because I trust their taste. So I'm glad that you were able to share that, and I will be clipping that to share because I think it will help artists understand the way that you all are approaching music curation, your platform, and again, why I think you're built for longevity. It's not about hype. It's not about just getting some really big numbers and some instant sales and not no, because now it's going to sound like I'm throwing shade, and maybe I am. So I'm going to get off of that because we're going to spread positivity here. I don't know if there was anything else that you wanted to touch on with the new nuance of curation, but I just wanted
Yeah.
to add that in.
Yeah, no, it's really cool that you remember that part of the conversation. It's definitely something I feel very passionately about. It's something we're really interested in exploring further. I think like two more things I'll add on to that. I think there's been a relative absence in the market, or just like on the internet historically to empower that sort of on the ground curation that is then surfaced up to a larger audience where you have the people who are creating the culture in their given community, shaping the context, providing the context, deciding what represents them. But you also run into the issue of artists not necessarily wanting to be boxed into a genre or a region or location, and that's a pretty significant, I think, limitation to that vantage point on curation. I think it's kind of about providing a place for both. The same way music is beautiful because it is universal. So just because it would be amazing to, like you said, like I have experimental electronic artists in Beirut, um, being the ones who are curating music from their scene. It would also be amazing to have some kid in wherever who loves that music and has an ear for that music because they've spent hours and hours of their life listening to that music to also get a chance to curate. I just think the music platforms have historically only really provided space for one of those options, not both of them. And I'm really excited to see how we might be able to explore doing them concurrently. And the other thing I'll say about the curation process that we've had to date, I think we've had good intentions in how slow we've been bringing people aboard, but I also don't want that to be an excuse either. Like it's taken us and me specifically way, way, way too long to get back to many people who've submitted, and we have not been nearly as transparent as we should have been and as we will be moving forward around how this process works. So I'm really excited to rectify those things because I think they're among the biggest mistakes that we've made in our first year. So I want to be, very honest about that.
No, taking that accountability is real. I chalk it up to startup ish, but that's fire that you're willing to share that. We've touched on that. I've talked to you about how I think that the communication can go better, just because artists want to know what the fuck is going on. And again, not a generalization here, but for the most part, artists are relatively impatient, and they would like to know, like what's happening here. And so that transparency, I think, will help strengthen the relationships that you're all trying to build here in the space.
I
I
think
just
so
heard a
too, man.
horn in your background.
Oh
And
no, New York is showing
no,
its
no,
colors.
no, it's fine. It's fine. It's a perfect segue. And this is actually, I go on tangents, so, I apologize. But is it, when's the last time you went outside without a coat?
It wasn't
I'm
too
just
long
asking,
ago.
man. It's
It
about to
wasn't
be
too long
April.
ago.
I'm looking outside my window. It's gray. It's like 40 degrees. I don't get it. And I don't know how, you told me this. How long have you been in New York now?
I've been in New York for 6 months now. 6 months now, yeah.
Ah, you came at the worst time. There is nothing better in the world to me than New York summer. It's like we hit middle of May into like right the first couple weeks of September, and this is like the best place in the world to be. But anyway, no, that horn made me think about that. I looked outside again. Tangent. Thank you for adding more of your elements or more of the explanation on curation, your approach to it. I also just wanted to kind of circle back and say I don't think just because somebody is of the scene, they're the only ones qualified to speak on it. But by providing transparency as to who are the people that are curating, that will allow a lot of artists to kind of be put at ease and feel like it's less of a gatekeeping thing and be clear like, oh, this is somebody who's actually dedicated to the space. Like as much as people love to hate Fantano, man's music knowledge is insane, and that's why so many people do love him. Like you're gonna have that good and that bad.
Yeah,
And I don't know
no,
how you feel about
that's
him,
beautifully
but
put. I yeah, we can move on. I look, I ultimately
no, no. It's good. Yo, look, I'll say this. He gave And the Anonymous Nobody fucking terrible review. The album was beautiful. Grammy nominated. This is Web3, pre Web3, largest music Kickstarter ever. Motherfucker put out the review of that album, and I was like, hey yo, I feel a little slighted. So anyway, again, another tangent. But what were you about to say?
I was just about to say, I think it's a beautiful thing when anyone can, share an opinion and discuss it um, in a way that's respectful. Yeah, there are some things he's reviewed that I agree with. There's some things he's reviewed that I don't agree with, and I'm sure it would go both ways. So it is what it is.
Siber. Who is your? This is no, I can't. Okay, I won't say favorite because
Okay,
then I don't want it. It would be like, oh, it's the wrong position to ask you who your favorites are. What
gotcha.
are some of your favorite songs that you've seen have success on catalog? There we go. That's a good one.
That's a really good question. It's funny. I almost pay no attention to. I don't know if I should say this in front of my beautiful leaders, Mike and Jeremy, but I don't really pay any
Right?
attention
I'm like,
to.
I see them in the audience. I'm like, let me
Yeah,
make
yeah.
sure.
I don't pay too much attention to like how things do financially. Like I'm always really happy um, for an artist when a song sells, obviously, and like that's in many cases the goal. Especially if they need the money, which is way too often the case, unfortunately. But um, yeah, I'm never like, oh God, like this artist didn't sell their last record. Did we make a mistake onboarding them? It's really never like that. Um, so I'd have to think about it, to be honest, and get back to you. I mean, the I am a huge fan of Van Buren Records, who made the third song that we played, Brain Dead. And they have a couple. They're a hip hop collective from Massachusetts, and two of the artists in that collective, Luke Bars and Saint Leor, released and sold amazing records, kind of celebrating anniversaries for their mixtapes that they dropped a couple years ago. And that made me really happy, just because every time I see someone who I really respect, who's from a music community that I'm super fond of, who have not really taken steps into Web3, and they do, and they get some movement that they can be proud of. Like that is reaffirming to me, and I think to all of us on the team, because ultimately this stuff is so new that you really can't take any moment like that for granted. To be honest with you, so and like those guys have hustled for years. They've had major labels breathing down their necks, and they've tried to stay independent since forever. And when you're in that position, a couple of $1,000 goes a really long way.
Absolutely. I don't want this to feel like too much of a catalog promo, so I'm gonna give y'all my last little bit of flowers, and then we'll move on to some more Alex Cyber related questions. But still, the UI, it is beautiful. I love it. I love it. It is. It does not feel like most Web3 sites feel to me, and I think that y'all have done an amazing job there. And I just need the app on my phone, and so once we have that, it's my only request. Money Tree, plant the seed. Like to see y'all water that. And yeah, man. So I will. I do want to know your favorites, but now let's take it outside of any type of category and just who would be on your Mount Rushmore for musicians.
Okay, so first of all, I just want to say the biggest biggest. I'm basically Mike, who's in the audience. One of our co-founders. He is the designer in chief of Catalog, and um, I don't think more than 24 hours goes by where you know I don't hear from someone. I love the design of Catalog so much, and that in and of itself has really been such a massive part of our ability to even exist, to build such a beautiful team, to make new friends, to see artists make a lot of money on their own terms. So I just want to have a quick moment of my own to give flowers to him because yeah, I mean, and he's also very patient with me. He's kind of teaching me design stuff, and I'm grateful for that. So shout out to Mike. I also want to say before going on to the like Pantheon or whatever, that there are a couple records that I kind of do want to shout out on Catalog. A couple artists. The first is H. Bernard, who is a gifted artist from the UK, and I wish I could like pin the work in this thingamajig, but it'll take me too long because I'm slow with Twitter. But
Here,
H. Bernard is
I'll look
amazing.
while you keep going.
All right, cool. There's a song called "The Last Time I Saw You" that I'm just in love with, and um, I've been obsessing over since it came out. And then there is an artist on Catalog and just on a DSP near you, named Tom Tide, who is another just like gifted artist who I've been a kind of stan of since forever, um, and was really to the moon when he was willing to release a song with us. So Tom Tide and H. Bernard, special love to them. Overall, like in general, um, I am probably unsurprisingly like a massive Frank Ocean fan. Huge Frank Ocean fan. I really love Oasis. Usually when I say that, people laugh at me, but I'm a big Oasis fan. Arooj Aftab, who's a gifted Pakistani singer who released an album called Vulture Prince, I think last year. She got nominated for like a Best New Artist Grammy, which was one of the most amazing surprises I've ever witnessed in the history of me being aware of the Grammys existing. Um, Huge fan of FKA Twigs. There's an amazing artist named Masakatsu Takagi who is sort of this like I don't even know how to describe his work. Um, just like beautiful producer who kind of blends field recordings and ambient music and live instrumentation in a way that just like sends chills down my spine. And I also love the Killers, Spiritualized, just because of their album packaging. If you Google Spiritualized, ladies and gentlemen, we're floating in space album packaging, I think you will be blown away. Basically, in the '90s, they worked with a like retired pharmaceutical manufacturer to create I don't know if y'all know like when the kind of pills where you like pop them through the aluminum, they basically made like two pill trays but for mini CDs. So you would pop out a mini CD and like one of the songs of the album was on that. Um that shit like blew my mind. So a huge fan of them for the work they did in that regard. And then Terza, I'm like obsessed with her. I love her so much. And I'm gonna stop talking now. Yeah.
Nah, I think that was fire. It's crazy. You said Oasis, and this is going to show my lack of English rock knowledge, but I feel like I just know Wonderwall. And I know one like I heard Wonderwall so many times and never made me actually want to listen to any more of their records. So we have to check them out. And also FKA Twigs is probably in my top three best live performers I've ever seen.
You
So I
see
know
her live?
yeah, it
Oh
was
my
it
God, I'm jealous.
and so oh my gosh, where were we? I'm forgetting what city we were in, but after the show, she did. Oh, I don't want to misquote this. So she stayed after the show for at least an hour with someone for like most dedicated fans. And damn, this isn't what it was, but it was something along the lines of like a Virgin Moon dance. I don't know. I'm misquoting that. I'm sorry, y'all. But watching the way she interacted with this group of like 40 people for 90 minutes after her headline performance was it was wild. It was one of the wildest things I've ever seen. And I love when artists can have such a connection with their fans that kind of transcends what you see on social media or even the music. Like you can tell those were all people that felt like this like attraction or energy to her. And reminded me so much of the first time I saw Erica Badu, where I was like, oh, okay, that's actual magic in real life. Like it was the mad. There's no way to describe it, but you see it and it's like you can literally feel this person's aura and energy anytime they go by. It's like you're aware of their presence. So yeah, FKA Twigs was really fire.
Bro, I feel like every single album she's picked up three new like skills that take a lifetime to learn. Like she'll learn pole dancing, cool, did that in like 3 weeks. Now let me pick up a crossbow. Let me learn how to like sword fight. It's just so impressive that the music in and of itself could live forever. Um, I feel like every time I listen to one of her albums, especially Magdalene, I'm just like going down these pathways that I've never even recognized before as I'd listened in the past. But she keeps moving into all these different spaces, and I have so much respect for that. It's like I feel like she could be 80 years old and she'd still be trying to figure something out that she'd never done before. And I think that's the most inspiring thing in the world, to just keep learning. So I'm glad we were both big fans of her work. It's awesome.
Yeah, I had asked to see who some of your favorites were because it's been a really interesting thing for me because I feel like I work with some artists in quote unquote Web two that would have an interesting transition into the space like Nas. Nas just did the Royal drop and that was one way to come in. And with someone like De La, it's been interesting trying to think about what's the best way for them to enter the space. And when I say best, it's not the way that makes the most money, but the way when you look back on their legacy and their contribution, this feels like they came and had a cultural impact. Like they came, they understood what the space was about, how to actually move in it, how to empower the people that were here, and not necessarily cannibalize the market and not just try to throw your name around, but really contribute to building a better music ecosystem. So you just went through some of huge names in the again traditional music space. In your opinion, what are some of or like how would you like to see some of your favorite Web 2 artists come into the space? What does that look like for you?
Okay, so first of all, I just want to say it's taking all of my restraint to not try and pitch you on bringing Dale out of catalog right now, but we'll get back into that some other time. Um, I think in artists who actually just did this really, really well, and I'm really biased because I've been a huge fan of theirs, both as an artist and a graphic designer, and he's a friend as well. But there's an artist, Antangelo Williams, who has been working on an album called Ad World for almost half a decade, and I think it's a really, really, really beautiful project. And he almost went broke trying to make it, and he had always been, very, very, I guess, like tech progressive, very willing to experiment. He used to, back in like 2016, put his like lyrics or rollout plan in a public Google Doc or whatever and tell anyone who would listen, like, hey, like come in here, fuck shit up, like comment, change things around, tell me what you want to do, whatever. Um, and he got really into Web3, he got really into crypto stuff, and he basically poured all of his remaining resources into turning Ad World into a real virtual world. Um, and this is again something that I'm going to try and like pin it um, while I'm talking, but basically created this entire narrative based around this album and the storylines in the album by creating these collectible NFTs that unlock characters that you can design, and the character design like lets you filter into these different communities, and basically like it's almost like a vehicle for spin-offs that our community run. And it was just really beautiful to see. Usually, again, like I never really think about the money in the space, which is hard, but I tend to succeed on that end. But in this situation, it was really incredible because again, San was literally, I think he had posted a screenshot of his bank account. I think he had like $1.55 left. And AdWorld went live, the minting process went live, and they generated almost $1 million. Again, for an album that no one has really heard yet. And that to me is such a beautiful way to go about this, not just because of the money. If you took that away, you'd still have a real community actively taking time out of their day to build and contribute in the myth making around an artist. Um, and to me, like that's just the most beautiful thing in the world, especially at a time where, for the first time in our lifetimes, I feel like people are actually contemplating the idea of making economies smaller, not larger, and this idea of like scaling at all costs, and you can never be too big, or it seems to kind of be fading in at least some corners of this world that at least most of us are in. If you're listening to this, um, where it's okay to go small, and that's what Santangelo did, and now he has a little over 3,000 people who are super invested in him, and maybe say even 50% of those just want to make money, then you still have over 1,000 people who are helping Santangelo like become something else without influencing his album, without influencing his music, an entirely separate creative process. I feel like there's a lot of things that are being balanced at the same time to pull that off. And if I think about Frank Ocean, that's the kind of thing that I'd want to see from him. I might want to see him memorialize a classic of his on catalog, for example, the same way I'd love to see like a De La song from the archives be memorialized on catalog. But I'd also want to see something else. And what Sand did with Ad World, to me, is an example of that something else. And I think Black Dave, who I know is in here, and Matt Monday, they're working on a project that is also incredibly exciting, that involves augmented reality and NFTs and physical toy making. I don't want to divulge too much into that project, but um, I think the most incredible part about Web3, it almost isn't even the technology in and of itself. It's just the fact that for the first time, it feels like there are more options available to us. I think if you're coming up in an internet that's totally dictated by insert big company here, it almost feels like your room to play is limited. And here, for better or for worse, because there are almost no rules and the future is so wide open, you have so many different people taking these crazy risks at the same time. And when that collides with art, I mean, that shit is crazy. Like, there's going to be books written about what is happening right now, the different artists who are going out of their way to do something different. So I'm going to stop
Yeah.
ranting, but yeah.
No, yo, you're good. Yeah, and so hold on, Cyber, because I told you this. You do not give yourself enough credit. You were worried about coming up here and chopping, and you are spitting facts and dropping gems, and it's beautiful. So I'm very glad that we're able to have this, man. Yo, you touched on a lot of really fire points in there. I love the term myth making because I always say that we as managers or storytellers, we aim to help get the artist's vision understood by the world. And I never want to sell you on something. I just want to tell you about it. And if I love it, I will tell you about it with such vigor and such energy that either you'll love it or you'll tell me to get out of your face and I can go tell the next person. And there are so many more options provided in this space to make myths, to build worlds. It's like you have this entire sandbox that can go into your marketing process now. You just discussed what Dave and Matt were working on, and he's given me a little bit of insight into what they were building. And it's the same thing where I'm just like, holy crap, like the way that you're thinking about connecting this and building these worlds, it's going to be really, really interesting to the people that rock with it. We had this one artist out of South Africa, and she had a very, very unique culture. She's from a small village, and we were like, yo, how do we make this story work, right? How do we get this story to resonate with the rest of the world? And we'd have these conversations with her, and she loved some of these traditions that were in her village and these rituals. And we came up with this idea that we called going hyper local to go super global, where we focus so much on what was in her village and the colors and the aesthetics and the sounds, and highlighted like how cool this was and allowed that to resonate with the rest of the world. So when you talk about the communities and not necessarily trying to scale so crazy, if you focus on your core base and you focus on why that core connects with you, a lot of times the rest of the world starts to see this thing developing that they can't quite describe or they can't quite touch, and they weren't necessarily even a part of when it started, but then FOMO starts to kick in and they start seeing why there's value. And it's like, oh, well, if all these people over here say it's cool, maybe it is pretty cool. And thinking about that in the context of Web3, your arsenal becomes way crazier to, I can say, to build that world and connect with those fans. So yeah, I think my original question was like, how do traditional artists get into the space? And so we've gone off a little bit from there. What is most exciting you about the rest of, and not even the rest of the year, but just the future of the space, and make it non-catalog related?
That was a beautifully put synopsis of my rant, for what it's worth. So I appreciate you for synthesizing and consolidating. That's a really, really good question. I mean, I think to be honest with you, I'm like really excited to get better at making tea. I've started that process, but I still have a very long way to go. And that's like very important to me. I want to get better at making tea so I don't spend like $7 a day on overpriced lattes in Brooklyn. So on a personal note, that is right up there for me. Another goal
Wait,
is
before we get off your tea, I need to highlight that night, that tea you ordered, that like, okay, that makes so much sense because it seemed like it was a very particular tea. And now, when you talk about making tea, do you have
yeah,
the strainer where it's like you're putting the actual leaves in yourself, and then the water, or what is it, a press, not a strainer? Is that how you're
that's
making
a
tea?
that's a great question. I'm trying to graduate to the actual leaves. Right now, it mostly looks like boiling kind of amalgamation of different spices in a pot. Um, but I would love to get into to the leaf side of things immediately. I might go buy some after work today. I also want to shout out Reef from our team because he was the one who he showed me where we went to, which is a place called Yemen Cafe um, in West Brooklyn. That's not a real way to describe Brooklyn, but I can't remember. It's like
West
Borough Hill or
Brooklyn.
something. What's it called? You know, you live in that
No, I'm
area.
weak. I would just say downtown Brooklyn. I don't think I've ever heard the term West Brooklyn. I love
Okay,
that.
downtown Brooklyn. Yeah, I'm new here, you know. But no, all jokes aside, like with Web3 stuff, I'm just excited to see a lot of different communities and platforms do what they and we have said we would do from the jump, which is actually embrace the spirit of decentralization and actually think about how to build true community, not just people who are coming through to make a quick dollar, not just people who are coming through because they want to get something, but an actual mutual engagement between many different people who care about a whole host of different things, whether it's music related or not. I'm really excited to do that, and I agree with you. I think it's been way too hype driven. I know we're in a Twitter space right now, but it kind of bums me out to see the amount of pressure that has been placed on artists in this space to be constantly active 24/7. There's so many people who have texted me and probably in this space right now, everyone has some degree like experience what I'm talking about, where they're super burned out. They're trying a million different things. They're not really they're losing focus on the art. And one of the principles of catalog and probably every music NFT platform in the space right now was to create new value models around music and to prove music on the internet can actually be worth more than fractions of a penny. And that's not going anywhere. And there's a lot of fun experimenting to do around that near term and long term. But another thing we used to always talk about when catalog was starting was how much we hated the need for artists to be doing a trillion different things, but making music to have any chance of making it. And that is not going away and is almost being exacerbated, in my opinion, in the space. And I think it opens up a lot of really, really exciting product opportunities to try and think about how we can create something that's a bit more self sufficient, where even if you're not being highlighted in the Twitter space, you still have a good shot of at least being heard, if not selling something. So I'm really, really excited across the board, whether it's catalog or somewhere else, for that to be taken more seriously because I don't think the current pace is sustainable. And it's certainly not the grand end outcome that I am rooting for the way things are right now.
Clearly I'm biased, but I really would implore most artists to accept that it's okay to not do everything yourself. You do not have to have, and not that you can't or have a hand in it, but to speaking to the idea of burnout, to market, promote, plan, schedule, create your entire brand, your entire world at a scale that people can understand it, at a way where the quality is high, it becomes really unfair to expect that of people. And I think that a lot of the issues that the old music industry kind of created is this idea of like labels are evil and they're going to take your percentages and all of this. And there are fair models in which you can have people on your team and they do work and they're fairly compensated for it. Catalog has options that support that with the creative splits that I had saw. And I don't want to get too far into that side, but my piece would just be like, if you're an artist, it's okay to just want to be an artist and to not want to have to do everything else despite what people would say. I saw Kim Kardashian had to walk back her get up off your ass and work quote or whatever it was. And it's just like I see it like it takes so much to make a great song. You are soundtracking your life. There's so much emotion and energy that goes into music. Like I love music more than anything else in this world. And I always say that I'm just someone who helps the magic makers make magic. And I want to provide that support so they can make it at the highest level. And there are other people that will do it at fair wages that don't, lock you in and keep your rights for the next 20 years, but also in a way that, you don't have to stress out as much. And a little bit of a tangent there, but Cyber, man, this has been an amazing conversation. And grammar. Yeah, I think that was the one thing I do miss from college is I should have paid attention a little bit more in English. Like sometimes the A and be kicking my butt. Like worse than worse, kicked my butt for a little bit. I was like 21 when I finally figured out the difference there. This has nothing to do with anything we're talking about, so I'm going to get us back on
Hey,
track.
now I think you're being a little hard on yourself, but I trust your recollection of college, of course.
No, I don't trust my recollection of college. So before I let you go, I ask everyone on the show two questions. The first question is going to be, what is your seed phrase? And now I know your seed phrase in the crypto Web3 sense is traditionally your account recovery key. To me, the term seed phrase is not a scary enough term for something that means you lose, if you lose access to it, you lose access to your assets. And so on Money Trees, I've said it, we're planting ideas, we're planting seeds. We've repurposed seed phrase to be a saying, a quote, a slogan, a motto, a lyric that you live by, that embodies your approach to your career, to your craft, to the art. So, Alex Siber, what is your seed phrase?
That's a really good point about that phrase. It should probably be reevaluated by whoever decides such things.
100%. Like, if you're new and you just hear, oh, this is your seed phrase, it's like, that should sound like it could be your username. You're just like, okay, why the hell? Anyway,
Man, I'm not gonna lie to you. I feel like I'm just about to make something up in response to this question. Um, I wish I had a mantra um, that I repeated to myself every morning. I really do. I can think of people who come to mind who probably said something that at one point or another meant the world to me. Um, my dad being a big one. One of my best friends, Ava Coleman, she has said like a trillion different things to me, especially over the last 2 years, where I'm like, my God, I need to like get this tattooed or something. Um, whether it's just like something clever or words of encouragement, but I'm tempted to just sing a lyric. I don't know. What's yours? Have you shared yours yet?
wow, that is an excellent question. And I have not shared mine. Money Trees is about the guest. It's not about me. I am just a conduit to help get your ideas planted in this garden I'm making. So I don't have a
We want
seed
your
phrase right now.
password, bro. We want your password. divulge divulge intel. I mean, what if is there anyone from the audience maybe who has like their seed phrase quote locked in that they'd want to share? Should we make this like a kind of communal gathering situation while I totally
It's
fumble the ball?
it, it's up to you. I let the guests decide however they want to run it. I see Mdara in the crowd. Let's go look at what Mdara's seed phrase was. Mdara's was just do it and see how it goes. Uh, Rem Rem has not sent me their seed phrase yet. So Rem, if you would
Oh,
like to DM me, Rem was on yesterday. No,
Rem, you
Rem
want to
said
come
a
up
fire
here?
one. Rem said a fire one yesterday, but they didn't decide if that was going to be the final. I don't know, Cyber. I'm not seeing any requests. I think that they are leaving your seed phrase up to you. You are on the hot seat.
Oh
Then we
my
start playing the
God.
Jeopardy music. Would that help out with the weight?
I mean, I don't know if you have one of those Mounocasters or whatever. Oh, we got one.
Conduit?
Saved by the request.
Save, but let them up. Okay, now we got Lafayette. Let's see what's happening. Let's see what's happening.
Let's go.
Quiet, the kids are saving Alex from having to come up
Yes.
with one
Yes.
on his
That
own.
was really good. Beautiful music.
Peace.
If you haven't heard Quiet the Kids Are Sleeping, please look them up on catalog or your DSP of choice.
Conduit or Lafayette, either one of y'all, just jump
Peace.
in.
I was just
Peace.
gonna say I'm a huge Nipsey fan, and I feel like in some ways I broke away from what a lot of people were thinking. And he was one of the first people I heard big talking about crypto too. And I'm from LA, Slauson Crenshaw, so I like one of his lines in one of his songs. He said, "Self-made, meaning I designed myself." you know that's also with the influence of other people though, but I think sometimes we have to chart our own paths because you know this web3 stuff is wide open, and I think being creative and being a dreamer and a builder, you know they're both skills that are needed. So that's my contribution, and I appreciate all the knowledge, you guys. Thank you.
Shout out to the late great Nip. Cyber, do you want to hear another suggestion, or were you just giving your seed phrase?
I would love to give up the mic to one of the most talented artists out there. That sounds like a very just outcome in this situation. So please, Lafayette, if you've got one.
Yo, I'm at work, so I'm trying to like sneak and do this. um, but mine is prove them wrong, wish them well. Pretty much is like a lot of people will doubt you or whatever, but I don't really have like any malice in my heart. Like people that sleep on you or whatever you want to call it. It's like you got to wake them up sometimes, but never do it in like a malicious way. It's just like, yo, when you find out about this thing, it's cool. It's cool to hop on the wave, hop on the bandwagon when it's time for you to do it. So just prove them wrong, wish them well.
That's beautiful. That's really beautiful, and actually reminds me of the last time I did hear something that struck me, and it was Mark Rudito, who is a talent in his own right and just a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful human being. I had messed up, and I had owed him a response to something, and I completely, completely forgot, and I was apologizing profusely to him, and he messaged me, and he basically said, um, every time I give a gift to someone, I'm all the better for it. And I think it's super, super similar idea. Like if you're trying to do the right thing, that's really the best you can do. And ideally, you've kind of an open mind to learn if you've screwed up. You're not acting like, oh, I'm just doing the best I can. I ran over someone's dog, but fuck it, it's okay. My heart was in the right place. Like I'm not saying do that, but um, yeah, that's a beautiful one, Lafayette. Thank you for sharing. Also, Blame the Label is in here. That just made my day. Hi, Amir. Sending you love. Um, yeah. Khufu, you should share yours, man.
So yeah, shout out to Conduit and Lafayette for inspiring you to deliver yours. Every time I give a gift to someone, I'm all the better for it. That is a fire C phrase. In Siber, I just told you, man, this garden, I'm the gardener. I'm tending to the trees in the garden. I'm not the one actually planting the seeds. Maybe I'll do an episode where I just talk for 30 minutes and pose my my own questions to myself, but
Bro,
I
you
won't.
should
I won't self-aggrandize yet. No, what's
you
up?
should you should you should have every single person who's ever been a part of Money Trees interview you in rapid fire succession and just field the questions like you're in a batting range or something. I'm assuming I'm 40 if it says number 40 on here. So 40 people just asking you questions. That would be awesome.
We
We'd
do
learn so
have
much.
some very very special plans for the 100th episode. Will most likely be live, probably in my hometown because the weather will be beautiful and it will coincide with another event. Just schedules happen to work out that way. I am planning. We can give away a little alpha here. I'm definitely planning on doing a bit of a party for all of the guests that I will throw later this year for everyone that's been on it. The idea behind this was always that like I have these conversations on the fringes of my life, whether it's like for fun or for work, and there's game that we share in here or just perspective that we share in these conversations that I felt would be beneficial for people to hear, which is why the show is set up the way that it is, why I have the guest on that I have on. But I really feel like this guest list that Money Trees is building in a couple of years will look back and be historic, where these are going to be some of the leaders, if they are not already leaders in the space, and will go on to do amazing things. And I would love to connect more of you together to see like where the Money Trees family can build from. This is like, and I don't know how many people are big on sports, but in the NFL, there's a couple of coaches where you look at their coaching tree and you see like how many other successful coaches have come down from this coaching tree. And I would love to provide that networking element, I guess, to say here with the show. Like I said, I'm just someone who helps the magic makers make magic. And this show is a way for me to do that at scale, that I have tons of ideas on how to further connect these people that I'm bringing here together. This is all to say I don't have a seed phrase, and y'all not gonna be questioning me no time soon. But my second question to you before I let you go, Cyber, is this one of one Money Trees number 40 note will be going up for sale. What will the price of your note be?
Okay, first of all, I can't wait for this live gathering. That's exciting news. Thank you for sharing, Alpha. Second. Okay, so what's the is there like an average price that it goes for? Can we like set it up so it just sends to um like a mutual aid fund or some shit?
Okay, so yes, I'm sure there is an average price. I have not done what the average price is, but the range is from free up to 819 ETH. I appreciate that some guest would like me to become the most popular talk show podcast person in all of Web3, so that's possible. Whatever, I'm up for the challenge. The 819 ETH stuff aside, the way this show is set up and the idea behind it, I actually have a thread on this I've been meaning to post, but I was trying to figure out a business model that made sense for, I call it a talk show. It's going to have a live element. Right now it's a bit more podcasty, but for podcast and talk shows in Web3. And sponsors to me was always annoying. I just never wanted to hear ads. And I'm like, okay, well, if I'm not running ads, what's another way to generate revenue based off of the episode? And I'm like, well, digital art does really, really well in the space right now. So let's incorporate digital art and make sure our cover arts are all really unique. Okay, Money Trees, let's make a money note. Boom. There's some branding elements connecting. But also, what happens is it's a way for me to pay the guest for their time on top of celebrating their appearance. So me and the artist split 50% of it, and then 50% of the NFT sale goes to the guest. And that's why I allow the guest to determine the price for it. Whatever wallet address you give me upon sale will be where those funds are directed to. And I just think it's interesting. I think it's a fun way for the guests to come on. The guests get paid once the show is really, really moving, and and it's all on the blockchain. And yeah, that's that. I don't know if that really answered your thing. Yes, we can send it to whoever you want to send it to.
It's a really, really, really great idea. And can you remind me of the artist name who does all the dollar bills and stuff? It's not Fernando.
Fernando
It
Cal
is
out of
Fernando.
Brazil.
Okay.
My guy, when I tell you, I found Fernando on Reddit. I posted like a Reddit work for hire thing 3 years ago. He got back to me, and I was just like, "Hey, yo, we have to work." And so I've been working with Fernando as my go-to artist for damn near everything for the past 3 years. And so, yeah, it was a no-brainer to bring him in on this and be cooking up.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Fernando, for making me look like an adult for the first time in my life with that illustration. I was really appreciated. So I guess my answer to your question is if there's a chance for us to actually sell it and raise money for something, um, let's do it for whatever these things have been bought for. Otherwise, I'm down for it to just be free, if that's cool with you.
I'm cool. So the selling piece, it's like I don't know. To me, it doesn't. Not that it doesn't matter. It's just secondary. Like I will fund money trees until the 10,000th episode, as long as I still believe in it. And that's like the way I'm approaching it. So the actually generating revenue piece of it becomes secondary because a lot of these conversations have already proven fruitful for other people that have reached out. And for me, I learn every time I get on and I get to have these conversations. And so it's like it's I don't know if you've ever seen Paid in Full, but it's like I love the game, and so that's where I'm at with it. We can make it free. We can also set a price because Alex Siber, as catalog grows and as your star in this space continues to shine and grow brighter, people will listen back to this episode, hear some of the things that you spoke about, and relate to it, or they might get involved with something based off something that you say, like who knows how this will reverberate through the annals of time. But yeah, it's really up to you, man. We can make it free, and whoever buys it or pays gas, it's not really free. I can't list for free on Zora. It's like 0.00001 ETH, so you're just paying the transfer cost. But yeah, you can do that, or we can set up a price, and when it does sell, it goes to wherever you would like it to go to, and it is a testament to the content we shared today. Still up to you.
Beautiful. All right. Let's text about it after this and figure it out. It would be cool to raise money for something if we can, but I can't imagine anyone buying this anytime soon because it's I don't know, but it's me. But I really appreciate you just creating this space again and again and again for different people to come through and shoot the shit and um, make new friends. I wish everyone was up here. It'd be really fun if everybody was up here and we were just like, you know, talking about whatever our favorite albums that came out this week. Who's digging through Bandcamp? That'd be really fun. It would be nice to have just like a whole just open music discussion. So maybe we can do one of those as like a side event on
Oh,
Twitter.
are we talking on the record, hosted by Catalog? Yeah. But no, seriously,
Maybe
y'all have a similar. You have a similar setup where I feel like, not to get too much into the reasoning behind money trees. The one-on-one piece of it and why I do limit the people that come up is sometimes the conversations just go off the rails. And for the sake of us actually sharing this, because this will be like on podcast platforms and YouTube, I do keep it limited. But the idea of follow-ups is interesting. Uh, yeah, I'm not opposed to it. Anyway, Cyber,
you're
yes, we can.
yeah.
Oh, no, what were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say I appreciate you for considering that, and I appreciate everybody for listening to this. It's really cool seeing so many amazing artists and friends in here, new friends and old friends. If you never listened to Alara, please listen to Alara. If you never listened to Rem, please listen to Rem. See Greg Newman in here, host of On the Record, absolute legend, incredible artist and writer. Luca Maxim. I'm trying to scroll through here. Reef Loretto, I said it already. And Computer Data. They're amazing, gifted members of the catalog team, but they also make amazing music, and you should look them up. Oh, Hudson's here. Oh my God. Hudson made one of my favorite EPs of like the last 2 years. So Hudson as well. I already said Lafayette. Jeremy, our co-founder, is a really good producer. He sent me a beat the other day. Black Dave, obviously one of the best to ever do it. Colombo, oh my God, gifted producer, works with the amazing Cosbeal. Oh, I've cried to the music they made. Maybe I shouldn't have shared that, but it is what it is. And yeah, thank you everyone for coming through to this. And Khufu, hopefully we can say hi in person at some point when it is consistently above 60 degrees.
Yes, you know my limits. I'm looking to go back to Florida already. I'm waiting for it to get nice here. Siber, shout out to everyone that you mentioned. Shout out to everyone that pulled up. This has been an awesome conversation. Yeah, we'll get up soon, man. And yeah,
oh wait,
peace.
real
what's
quick,
up?
real
No,
quick,
what's up?
real
What's up?
quick.
What's
I'm
up?
sorry, I'm
What's
sorry.
up? What's up? What's up? What's up?
One more. I know I'm definitely missing people, so please forgive me. But at least I'm seeing Christina, I think Spinay in here. She is another just gifted artist and pianist, and she's another person. I'm sorry. I should have tagged all these amazing people up here when we first started. That's on me. But yeah, thanks again to everyone for coming through to this, and hopefully we can say hi sometime in a park.
I love parks. For real this time. Shout out to you, Siber. This has been dope, and we'll talk soon.
Stay safe, everybody. Stay healthy.